and if we, as soon as we get that stream, will get executed by this block, because their name is the same, profile callback is the same. So we get a stream coming through a third party or a cross domain call, and it is wrapped around a profile callback, so it will get executed in a context. So these are the two way developers are, or we can bypass the entire cross domain policy through it. Okay, let's move ahead. Oops. So this is on a cross-domain calls. Next is we want to do Ajax fingerprinting. We want to determine Ajax calls. We want to fingerprint Ajax framework. There are various different frameworks out there, like Atlas is for .NET framework, GWT, Mochiki, Dojo, Prototype, etc. So what you can do is you can, before starting an application level assessment, if you want to assess what kind of Ajax framework it is running with, you can use some of the tools. There is a tool which I wrote, it's called Ajax fingerprinting tool, which has some fingerprints for popular framework. So whatever your page you are assessing, you can compare which framework it is running with. Can help in assessment process, and even you can do a RIA fingerprinting as well if you are running with a Flash-based application hosted on Laszlo or such. Oops. Ajax attack vectors, entry point scanning and enumeration is first task. Then you look for a cross-site scripting attack, look for a cross-site request forgery attack. Client-side code reverse engineering is another possibility. Client-side code reverse engineering, by which you can identify the logic, because in a traditional application the whole business logic used to sit in an application layer running on a server side, but now a lot of business logic is shifting on Ajax side, so now you can browse through JavaScript and identify loopholes. Security control and validation bypassing, which is used to happen in old application as well as the 2.0 applications. Local privacy information enumeration, if you are using a Dojo. Dojo has an interface to flash local memory, so you can read the variables. So Dojo is writing something to this local memory. You can read these memory variables as well. And there are some of the Ajax frameworks which are running with a vulnerability for JavaScript hijacking and such. So if you identify which framework your application is running with, some of the tests you can do. How you do Ajax scanning? Scan Ajax components, retrieve all JavaScripts, since Ajax is residing in JavaScript. Identify XHR call. You grab the entire JavaScript file and look for XHR calls, whether this particular function or this file is making XHR call. Once you identify that you know that this particular file is something related with Ajax. Mapping function to DOM events. So what I usually do is like grab the XHR call, and below that whatever routines are implemented are usually changing the DOM. So it will make some changes. It may change the inner HTML, or it may change some of the links or such. So then in the next step you can see what changes it is making, and then scan code for look for these two high value target. That is, one is eval and second is document.write, because through these two calls essentially malicious content coming from a server or malicious content coming from a third party stream can cause XSS. Ajax serialization, Ajax processing various information coming through third party. Over here this is object coming, and for example this function you see document.write these.subject. So if someone has injected a JavaScript in your subject coming through your email, then wherever these call get executed will be vulnerable to XSS. Similarly, someone can inject stuff in a JSON array or a JS array as well. Ajax and JS manipulation, JavaScript exploitation, XSS, identifying DOM, which we covered, eval, attack APIs out there, Beef, something called Beef, which exploit the entire browser sessions, and lot can be done like a session hijacking and keyloggers, as he said in a previous presentation. So let's see some demos. Okay, over here what I have is crawling. Okay, let's see the scanning. So over here what I'm planning to do is, what I'm doing over here is I'm scanning the application. There is a toolkit called Scan Web 2.0 which you can find on my site, where it is a set of Ruby scripts which I have written through which you can scan Web 2.0 application pages. So first script is something called Ajax Finger RB. So it is essentially for Ajax fingerprinting. So this is my target against which I'm running this script. So I say Ajax RB run against this framework. So here are some of the fingerprints for different Ajax Ajax frameworks, and it has found that this particular page is running with a prototype.js framework. Second is you can, for example, your application is running with an Atlas framework. With a .NET, what you can do is you can use this scan atlas.rb, which is going to scan your page, try to identify Atlas framework, and from which it is going to get the reference of the backend web services which Ajax is your Ajax page is making backend call. So for example, you run this scan Atlas, and this over here, what we got is it has scanned for Atlas and it has find one entry point to the system, which is a trade.asmx page. So your page in the front end is actually a Ajax application which is making the backend call to a web services which is called trade.asmx Web.Services. Next we are scanning for flash. We are doing a flash finger and we are looking for a flash code and then parse the flash code and retrieve the critical information. Over here what I've done is scanning for flash object, and I got a parameter called search.lzx which is converting SWF files. So if your application is running with a Laszlo framework, which is another popular open source framework for Web 2.0 application, it will identify Laszlo files and internal scripts which you can download and reverse engineer and and try to enumerate more information on it. Fourth, what you're going to do is we scan the Ajax application. So there is a script called Scan.Ajax where we are scanning the entire Ajax page. And over here you can see what I've done over here is in the first I go parse the page. From parsing the page, I enumerate all JavaScript which is used by that particular page, and then go and parse each of these JavaScript, and I found one function which is say get JSON profile, and I run a regex for it, and I found eval call. I found first I found XML HTTP request call, then I found eval call, and then I found document.write call. So now you can link this all information which you have gathered, and you parse through the you see the entire stream which is hitting to your browser, and then you can identify XSS using this. So there is no one tool out there by which artificially you can say that this is a vulnerable to XSS, since it is a very complex parsing method or a complex JavaScript execution is going. So there is a manual intervention you need. So but you know that JavaScript files are like 1,000, 2,000 lines of file. From that you can target the certain part of the files which you need to analyze using this script. And finally we are going to do a URL grep. There is a script called URL grep where I go and grab all JavaScript and try to look for URLs in the script. So I can gather all different URLs. There are some false positive as well because it matches with the pattern, but I can find a lot of different URLs in the page. So since Web 2.0 application is nothing but like you are getting a one large JavaScript and then everything is a dynamical. So if you are crawling the web application, the traditional crawlers are used to go for hrefs and such, and then it map the entire application and crawl the application. If you run the crawlers against Web 2.0 application, it is just a one page, a large JavaScript coming to you, it will stop there. It won't identify different linkages as such, but this is the way you can grab all URLs and identify the linkages. Okay, so next is Ajax and RSS injections. Let's see some of the XSS as well. Over here, for example, there is a XSS with Ajax stream. So if we click here, we have a link here which is actually coming from some third party. So as soon as you click the link, there is a XSS, and actually this link is coming through proxy, and it is coming from a third party resource. So whatever they have injected, you don't have control over it, and they have actually injected a script in a JSON array or a JSON structure. So that script will come to you and a browser will execute, since you have a document.write call or eval call in it. Similarly, you can have a XSS stream coming through XML, JS object, JS array, or JavaScript. Another interesting thing which a lot of vulnerable site has been discovered is RSS feed. Now people are using a lot of different RSS feed coming to there, and there are a lot of online RSS readers as well. So RSS feeds are another entry point to the browser. Injecting script to RSS feeds and Ajax call may get executed. Sometimes these are the one-click XSS, because you have to click the XSS, because RSS is a static feed coming to you. You can't inject a script tag into it, but what you can do is one can inject a JavaScript colon tag into it. So JavaScript colon tag will fit at the href, and then when you click the href, JavaScript get executed. So a lot of vulnerability were discovered by injecting on-click or on-mouse event, where one can inject the JavaScript. So for example, if you look at this demo on XSS with RSS stream, here is a little vulnerable RSS feed widget. So you can pick your feed, which you already configured. So if you look at the feed, your feed is actually coming through a proxy, the proxy.aspx. There are 3 feeds coming to you. One is from CNN, one is from USA Today, and one is from example.com. So then you are selecting one of the feed. Okay. So you pick your feed. We have selected the feed, and in the feed, this is a RSS feed. You can see the entire RSS feed over here. And someone has injected over here, you can see someone has injected link, JavaScript, alert, XSS. At this point, any arbitrary script can reside. As soon as someone click interesting news item, XSS will get executed. So you are taking these RSS feeds, which are totally untrusted feeds coming from anywhere in the world, and it may cause a XSS if your RSS feed reader is vulnerable to these attacks. Okay, let's move to presentation. Ajax crawling. Crawling is the biggest challenge for Ajax. Crawling Ajax driven app, a challenge. Resources are hidden in a JavaScript. Simpler scanner will fail. Crawling should be with actual DOM context. Automated crawling with the browser is required. So how we can do that? I usually crawl application using something called Watir, which is a Ruby interface to IE. So I can drive IE through Ruby interface, and then what I can do is, like, as soon as a DOM get loaded in my browser, I can fire all different click events programmatically and crawl entire site. So over here, if we go for crawling with Watir, what we're going to do is, there is a page which is just sending one large JavaScript. So we call that page, and through Watir, it has clicked each of the links and made the entire and collected all href. Here is how Watir script would look like. You require Watir, include Watir, and then you are opening an instance of IE. You are telling IE to go to that particular site you want to crawl. So it will go grab entire in IE, the entire JavaScript will be loaded, and you have complete DOM get painted. So now you have hrefs and everything you can look. If you make a same call using a protocol level, just open a netcat and make that call, you are going to get just one JavaScript. So you won't be able to do anything else, because it is that particular JavaScript making actual XHR call at the back end, loading the entire DOM once again. So I do IE show links. I will get the list of links, and then in next I say IE.links to second number link, click that, collect link, third number link, collect that, and such. So this is the way programmatically I can control entire browser. At the same time, you can add some smart checks. For example, what I do is, like, I look for on click. And in on click, I look for whether it is making a JavaScript call or not. So that way I have two kind of links. One is a static links and another is a JavaScript driven link. Whichever is a JavaScript driven link, I click that. If it is a static link, I just grab that. So this is on Ajax crawling. Defending Ajax, no business logic information on client side, do not trust third-party source coming to you, no direct cross-domain callback, try to